If Drake submitted Iceman, Habibti, and Maid of Honour for Grammy consideration, there is a scenario where he could challenge the record for most Grammys won in a single night. That record is 8. Michael Jackson said it in 1984 during the Thriller era. No artist has ever won 9 Grammys in one night, and Drake might actually have enough music spread across enough genres to theoretically do it. You have rap, R&B, pop, melodic rap, potential crossover records. 3 albums essentially give Drake 3 different ways to attack the Grammy ballot. There is just one problem. Drake hates the Grammys.
Sometimes you have to realize, like, yo, this is it. It's happening now. And this moment decides the longevity of this whole thing. Some mornings you gotta wake up and be like, yo, this is my thing, not anyone else's. No one can talk to me.
And this isn't some new position he developed because Kendrick Lamar beat him. Drake's beef with the Grammys goes back almost a decade. And to understand why an artist with only 5 Grammys might voluntarily walk away from potentially winning several more, you have to understand what Drake's problem with the Grammys actually is. In 2017, Drake won 2 Grammys for Hotline Bling. Normally, winning 2 Grammys would be cause for celebration. Drake's response was essentially, why did you give me these?
I have quite an eclectic makeup, you know. I am mixed, I am Jewish, you know, but yeah, I feel like, you know, at the end of the day, I'll tell you, when it comes to everything else, I'm black. You know, I am referred to as a black artist. Like last night at that award show, I'm a black artist. You know,
about the Grammys.
Yeah, like I am. You know, I'm apparently a rapper. You know, even though Hotline Bling is not a rap song. The only category that they can manage to fit me in is in a rap category because I've rapped in the past or because I'm black. I can't figure out why. Just like I can't figure out why One Dance wasn't nominated. Maybe because they can't.
It's crazy.
I mean, well, it's just there's pop obligations that they have, and I fluked out. I fluked out and got one of the biggest songs of the year. That is a pop song, and I'm proud of that, you know? I love the rap world and I love the rap community, but you're right. I write pop songs for a reason, you know. I want to be like Michael Jackson. I want to be like artists that I looked up to. Those are pop songs, but I never get any credit for that, you know. And shout out, like, by the way, I'm speaking to you as a winner from last night. I won 2 awards last night, but I don't even want them because it just feels weird for some reason. It just doesn't feel right to me. Like I don't, you know, I feel like almost like alienated, or you're trying to purposely like alienate me by making me win rap, or either just pacify me by handing me something, putting me in that category, because it's the only place you can figure out where to put me. And remember, they don't decide the winners, but they do decide the nominations, you know, so they have to play it politically.
And Drake's problem was simple. He didn't believe Hotline Bling was a rap song. This becomes the first major piece of Drake's argument against the Grammys. The institution does not understand what kind of artist I am. And Drake went even further. He questioned whether the Recording Academy had put him in rap because he had rapped before or because he was black. That distinction is extremely important to the larger story. So Drake won 2 Grammys that year and publicly said he didn't even want them. That is the beginning of the fracture. But let's talk about how the nomination system works. For the Grammys, there isn't a separate permanent rap branch that exclusively determines who gets nominated for Best Rap Album, and then an R&B branch that exclusively determines Best R&B Album. Recording Academy voting members come from across the music industry: artists, writers, producers, engineers, and other music creators. So when Drake is competing for Best Rap Album, he's not walking into a room where 10 rap historians sit around a table and decide which album was objectively the greatest rap album of the year. He's entering into a massive peer voting system, and before voters can see the ballot, another process has already happened. The Recording Academy screens submissions for eligibility and category placement. More than 350 experts participate in reviewing entries to make sure records are competing in the appropriate fields. Importantly, the Academy says that the screening process is about classification, not deciding whether the music is good, and then the voters decide. But then Drake does something more significant than criticizing the Grammys. He doesn't submit More Life to the 2018 Grammys. And that's when the criticism becomes action, because complaining about an award award show while continuing to submit your music is one thing, refusing to participate is something else. Now, Drake is essentially saying, if I don't respect the way you evaluate my music, why am I asking you to evaluate it? And that question becomes the fundamental foundation for almost everything that happens afterwards. Then we arrive at possibly the most defining moment in Drake's relationship to the Grammys. In 2019, Drake wins Best Rap Song for God's Plan. And instead of giving the normal acceptance speech, he essentially questions the premise of the award while holding it.
We play in an opinion-based sport, not a factual-based sport. So it's not the NBA where at the end of the year you're holding a trophy because you made the right decisions or won the games. Look, if there's people who have regular jobs who are coming out in the rain, in the snow, spending their hard-earned money to buy tickets to come to your shows, you don't need this right here. I promise you, you already won.
Drake took to the stage and delivered one of the most memorable acceptance speeches in Grammy history. He told artists that if people are buying your tickets, singing your songs, and spending their money to support your career, then you've already won. You don't need an award to validate your success because the audience has already done that. It wasn't a bitter speech, it was almost liberating. Drake was saying that the connection between an artist and their fans matters more than approval from any institution. And over the next several years, he acted on that belief by walking away from Grammy submissions altogether. But not only did he make that speech, he began dissing the awards overall over the subsequent years. After 2020, Drake begins to speak for all artists. The Weeknd releases After Hours, Blinding Lights becomes one of the biggest records in the world, and The Weeknd receives 0 Grammy nominations. This appears to confirm everything Drake had already believed. Now his argument isn't simply, you misunderstand Drake, it's, your system may be fundamentally disconnected from the music people actually care about. Drake then posts on social media and essentially argues that artists should stop being shocked when culturally enormous music isn't properly recognized. What was once considered the highest form of recognition may no longer matter to contemporary artists. And then he goes even further, maybe artists need something new. That's a major escalation. He's questioning whether the institution itself should continue to occupy the position it occupies. And then Drake gets the opportunity to prove whether he means it or not. Certified Lover Boy gets nominated for Best Rap Album. Way Too Sexy gets nominated for Best Rap Performance. Drake withdraws both nominations. That's important because once again, Drake didn't lose. The ceremony didn't even happen yet. He voluntarily removed himself. So by this point, there's a clear progression. In 2017, you don't understand my music. In 2018, I'm not submitting more life. In 2019, this trophy doesn't determine whether you've won. In 2020, maybe this institution doesn't represent modern music anymore. In 2021, he's removing his nominations. But then Drake starts putting it into the music. Eventually, Drake stops explaining his feelings about the Grammys. He starts turning the Grammys into a punchline. On First Person Shooter, you have Drake making a line about using the Grammy as a doorstop, and that's such a Drake way of expressing contempt. The Grammys is supposed to be a physical manifestation of artistic achievement. Drake reduces it to something that keeps a door open. On Away From Home, you have Drake reflecting on his relatively small number of Grammy victories compared to the enormous amount of nominations he's received. And it's strange for someone who is as culturally dominant and whose music matters to so many people across the globe, how few Grammy awards he's received by comparison. One of the biggest artists in the history of recorded music only has 5 Grammys, and that disparity becomes part of the story. Then the Grammy becomes ammunition in the Kendrick Lamar beef. Drake jokes on Family Matters that Kendrick merely has to open his mouth and somebody will hand him a Grammy. His criticism has evolved from "you don't understand me," and now it's moved into the Grammys have artists they prefer. And then comes the most unbelievable irony. Kendrick's diss, Not Like Us, goes on to win 5 Grammys. So from Drake's perspective, you can imagine how that might reinforce everything he already believed about the institution. And that brings us to Make Them Know, the closer on Drake's most recent album, Iceman. Because after nearly a decade of criticizing the Grammys, withdrawing submissions, diminishing the trophy in the music, and watching Kendrick get awarded for attacking him, Drake arrives at a logical conclusion. Even if this is my best body of work, I won't submit. He says,
This album I'm never submitting it, cause I know that I'll never consider it. This might be the one year I won, cause I know how they like to position it. My bros want a mob on the stage, but I tell them boys now have some discipline. We don't even want what they giving us, them shits don't even have no significance.
That line is bigger than Drake insulting the Grammys. It's the culmination of the entire timeline. He's gone from "you put me in the wrong category" to "I don't need your trophy" to "your institution might not matter" to "take my nominations away" to "I'm not submitting it at all because I think these trophies don't mean anything." But I want to ask a question. What if he did? Because here's the irony. This might be one of the best opportunities of Drake's career to return to the Grammys. Because it's bigger than Drake needing their validation. He potentially has the music to attack several different fields simultaneously. Iceman is Drake's rap campaign. This is where Drake would go to compete in the core rap categories. Iceman could definitely win for Best Rap Album, while Janice STFU could attack both Best Rap Performance and Best Rap Song. Then you have Whisper My Name and potentially Janice STFU again competing for Best Melodic Rap Performance. And that's before we even leave the rap field. That's 4 Grammys possibly locked. Habibti gives Drake an entirely different lane. Instead of competing primarily in rap, this becomes his R&B campaign. The album itself could potentially compete for Best R&B Album or Best Progressive R&B Album, depending on where the Recording Academy ultimately places it. Then the individual records give him even more opportunities. Classic and I'm Spent could potentially compete for Best R&B Song, while Whitebone could be positioned for Best R&B Solo Performance. Then you have collaborations like Fort Worth and I'm Spent, which could easily give Drake another route through Best R&B Collaboration or Duo/Group Performance. So now you see the math begins to expand. Iceman gives Drake multiple opportunities in rap, while Habibti potentially opens up an entire R&B campaign with 5 more paths to a Grammy. Then you have Maid of Honour, and this is where Drake's Grammy campaign potentially becomes even broader. Unlike Iceman, which gives him a clear rap campaign, or Habibti, which potentially gives him a R&B campaign, Maid of Honour could give Drake opportunities across multiple genres. Amazing Shape could potentially move into the global music field. Cheetah Print could compete in pop or dance, depending upon how the Academy classifies the record. Then you have songs like True Bestie and Road Trips. That's what makes Maid of Honour important to this hypothetical. It gives him more records, more genres, and more pathways to win on top of everything he could already potentially collect with Iceman and Habibti. Drake has spent nearly a decade telling us that the Grammys don't determine whether an artist has won, and he may now have an opportunity to walk back into the institution he rejected and have one of the greatest nights in its history. He currently only has 5 Grammy wins. He could potentially add a handful in one ceremony, and in an absolutely perfect scenario, he could challenge Michael Jackson's record. Do I think Drake actually submits everything? Fuck no. In fact, everything we've just gone through suggests the exact opposite, but that's what makes the hypothetical interesting. The question isn't really, can Drake win the Grammys? The question is, would Drake be willing to participate in an institution he spent nearly a decade telling us he doesn't need, even if participating gave him the opportunity to make history? A night like that would completely rewrite the story of his relationship and the last 2 years with the awards. It would be one of the most remarkable scenarios in modern music and would instantly reshape how his legacy is discussed in relation to the Recording Academy, even if it wouldn't make him the most awarded rapper overall. But the conversation becomes even more interesting when you zoom out, because Drake's position isn't happening in isolation. Of course, Kendrick Lamar's recent Grammy dominance, especially with Not Like Us, has reinforced in Drake's mind that the Grammys are potentially against him. Another one of his potential adversaries, Jay-Z, has a long history of a relationship with the Grammys, including both wins and public criticism. Jay-Z once gave a speech attacking the Grammys for Beyonce having never won Album of the Year. The next year, after Jay-Z made a speech criticizing them for not giving his wife the highest honor, they literally did. Now, that could be the Grammys doing the right thing and rewarding the best album of that year, or that is an example of the Grammys showing favor to Jay-Z and Beyonce. Not to mention the Grammys have created an award in Dr. Dre's name, and Drake also took aim at him on Iceman as well. But then there's the broader pattern. The biggest names in hip-hop are still deeply entangled in Grammy culture, whether through participation, protest, or eventual reconciliation. From a purely competitive standpoint, it's hard not to wonder what would happen if just once Drake decided to play the game again. I think he easily could make history. But also, who really gives a fuck? Does Kendrick having 27 Grammys make him a better artist than Jay-Z, Stevie Wonder, or Michael Jackson? Of course not, but it's still fun to dream.